Welcome to Speak Up. This is the podcast where we help you sharpen your English while diving into practical topics that add real value to your life. I'm Ryan, and with me is Priya. Today, we'll guide you through building a personal growth plan for the new year. Whether you're aiming to improve your skills, build better habits, or simply feel more fulfilled, having a solid plan is key to making real progress.
That's right, Ryan. A new year is a fresh start, and it's the perfect time to take control of your growth journey. Today, we'll talk about setting realistic goals, breaking them into actionable steps, staying consistent with habits, and reflecting on your progress. You'll leave with practical tips and strategies to start the new year strong and keep building momentum throughout.
We've structured today's episode into 6 clear sections. First, we'll explore why planning for personal growth is so important. Then, we'll discuss how to identify your goals, break them into manageable steps, and develop consistency through habits. Finally, we'll cover ways to track your progress, adjust when needed, and celebrate your wins.
So, let's dive in and make this year one of real progress and personal success. Stick with us for the next couple of minutes, and you'll walk away feeling prepared and motivated.
When we talk about personal growth, it's not just about improving for the sake of it, it's about purposefully working toward the life you want to create. Without a plan, it's easy to feel like you're busy but not making real progress. Imagine you're trying to improve your English, for instance, and you randomly watch videos or read articles. Sure, you might pick up a few things, but without a structured approach, you're likely to feel stuck or unsure about your progress. That's why having a clear growth plan is so powerful. It helps you focus on what really matters.
Ryan makes a great point. Personal growth isn't just automatic. A lot of people assume that as time passes, they'll naturally improve, but that's not how it works. Growth takes intentional effort. A plan serves as a guide, showing you what steps to take and helping you stay motivated. For example, if one of your goals is to expand your vocabulary, it's not enough to just say, "I want to learn more words." You need to set specific targets, like learning 10 new words every week, and have a method to practice them, such as writing sentences or using flashcards.
Right. Another reason planning is important is that it helps you overcome common obstacles. How many times have you felt inspired to start something new, but then lost momentum after a week or two? That's often because there's no clear path forward. A plan keeps you grounded. It tells you what to focus on, even when you're feeling unmotivated or distracted. For instance, if you've decided to improve your public speaking, you can outline specific actions like joining a speaking club or practicing in front of a mirror for 10 minutes daily. With those steps in place, it's much harder to fall off track.
And let's not forget the satisfaction that comes with seeing measurable progress. When you set goals and track your achievements, you get to look back and say, "I've actually accomplished something." This sense of achievement can motivate you to keep going. It's like climbing a staircase. You focus on one step at a time, and before you know it, you're at the top. Plus, a plan doesn't just help you grow. It helps you grow in the areas that are most important to you, whether that's improving your English, building confidence, or adopting healthier habits.
That's the key, Priya. Growth planning isn't about creating a rigid schedule or stressing yourself out. It's about giving yourself direction and clarity. It's about knowing why you're working on something and how you're going to make it happen. We talked about why having a growth plan is essential. It keeps you focused, motivated, and able to measure progress. Now let's take the first step: identifying your goals. Without clear goals, even the best plan won't get you where you want to go. Think about it. If you're traveling, you need to know your destination before you can figure out how to get there. The same applies to personal growth.
That's so true, Ryan. A lot of people set goals that are too vague or broad, like "I want to be more successful," or "I want to improve my English." While those ideas are great, they aren't specific enough to act on. Instead, your goals should follow the SMART method: specific, measurable, achievable, relevant, and time-bound. Let's break that down. For example, instead of saying, "I want to improve my English," you could say, "I want to learn 50 new vocabulary words in the next 2 months and use them in sentences." That's clear and actionable.
I like that example, Priya. The SMART framework is so practical because it helps you focus on what's realistic while keeping the end result in sight. Another tip when identifying goals is to connect them to your deeper values or priorities. Ask yourself, why is this goal important to me? For instance, if you want to improve your English, maybe it's because you want to communicate better at work or feel more confident in social situations. When you know the why behind your goal, it becomes much easier to stay committed.
Absolutely. And don't feel like you need to set 10 different goals all at once. It's better to focus on a few meaningful ones and give them your full attention. For example, let's say you want to improve your speaking, writing, and grammar skills in English. Instead of trying to tackle all three at the same time, prioritize one. Maybe you start with speaking, and once you've built that confidence, move on to the next area. This helps you avoid overwhelm and ensures steady progress.
That's a great point. Another thing to remember is to make your goals personal and not just based on what others expect from you. For example, if everyone around you is focusing on fitness goals, but your priority is learning a new skill like coding or mastering English fluency, stick with what matters to you. Personal growth is about what makes you feel fulfilled and successful, not what looks good to others.
Well said, Ryan. And once you've identified your goals, write them down. Studies show that writing down goals makes you more likely to achieve them. Keep them somewhere visible, maybe on your phone, in a journal, or even on a sticky note at your desk. This simple step keeps your goals front and center, reminding you to stay focused every day.
So to wrap up this segment, the key takeaways are: keep your goals specific and realistic, connect them to your values, and don't try to do everything at once. Now let's move to the next step: breaking those goals into smaller, actionable steps. This is where the real magic happens. Even the biggest goals become manageable when you tackle them piece by piece. Think of it like building a puzzle. You don't put it together all at once, but piece by piece, it starts to come together.
That's a great way to look at it, Ryan. Breaking a goal into steps helps you avoid feeling overwhelmed. For example, let's say your goal is to improve your English speaking skills. That's a big goal, but you can break it down into smaller tasks like practicing with a language partner twice a week, learning 5 new conversational phrases every week, and recording yourself speaking to evaluate your progress. Each step brings you closer to the bigger goal without making it feel like too much at once.
Exactly. Another benefit of this approach is that it makes it easier to stay consistent. If your goal is to read more books in the new year, don't aim to finish an entire book in 1 week right off the bat. Instead, break it down into something manageable, like reading 10 pages a day. Over time, those 10 pages will add up, and you'll have finished multiple books before you know it. The key is to make the steps small enough that they feel doable, even on your busiest days.
Another way to make this process easier is to attach these smaller steps to your existing routines. For instance, if you want to expand your vocabulary, you could set aside 5 minutes after breakfast or during your evening commute to learn a new word and practice using it. By linking new habits to things you already do, you're more likely to stick with them.
That's a smart approach, Priya. Also, let's talk about timelines. When breaking your goals into steps, it's important to set deadlines for each one. For example, if your goal is to write a blog post in English, your steps might look like this: brainstorm topics by the end of this week, write the first draft by next week, and revise and finalize it the week after. Timelines create a sense of urgency and keep you accountable.
Right. And don't be afraid to start small. Even tiny actions can create momentum. Let's say you want to build confidence in speaking English. Your first step might simply be introducing yourself to someone in English or saying thank you at the store. Once you're comfortable with those smaller actions, you can move on to more challenging ones, like participating in a group discussion or giving a short presentation.
One thing I'd add is to track these smaller steps as you complete them. Checking off tasks gives you a sense of accomplishment and reminds you that you're making progress. It's like crossing items off a to-do list. It feels great and motivates you to keep going.
Exactly, Ryan. So, to sum up, breaking goals into actionable steps makes them manageable, creates momentum, and helps you stay consistent. Focus on one step at a time, set realistic deadlines, and celebrate the progress you're making along the way.
In the last segment, we broke down how to turn your goals into small, actionable steps. But here's the thing. Even the best plan won't work if you're not consistent. That's where habits come in. Habits are powerful because they automate your actions. Instead of relying on motivation, which can come and go, habits make progress feel natural and effortless over time.
That's so true, Ryan. Let's take the example of improving English skills again. If you make it a habit to read for 15 minutes every morning or watch an English podcast during lunch, you're consistently working toward your goal without overthinking it. The key is to start small and build on that. A lot of people try to change everything at once, and that's often why they give up. Instead, focus on creating one new habit at a time and give yourself space to adjust.
Absolutely. Starting small is critical. Let's say you want to practice speaking English every day. Instead of committing to an hour-long conversation right away, you could start with just 5 minutes of speaking to yourself in front of a mirror or recording your voice. Once that feels natural, you can increase the time gradually. The idea is to make the habit so easy that you can't find an excuse to skip it.
Exactly. Another strategy is to attach your new habit to an existing one. This is called habit stacking. For example, if you already have the habit of drinking tea every evening, you could add a habit like reviewing 5 vocabulary words while enjoying your tea. This way, the new habit becomes part of a routine you already have, making it easier to stick with.
That's a great tip, Priya. I'd also suggest using reminders or triggers to stay consistent, especially in the beginning. These could be simple things like setting an alarm on your phone, leaving a sticky note on your desk, or using an app to remind you to complete a task. For example, if your goal is to write in English every day, you could set a reminder at the same time each evening to sit down and write for 10 minutes.
And let's not forget the role of accountability. Sharing your goals with a friend or joining a group can keep you motivated. For example, if you're trying to improve your conversation skills, find a practice partner who also wants to learn. When you know someone else is counting on you, you're more likely to show up and stay consistent.
Great point. Another thing to keep in mind is that habits take time to build. Research shows it can take anywhere from 21 to 66 days to form a new habit, depending on the complexity. So, don't get discouraged if it doesn't feel automatic right away. Consistency is more important than perfection. If you miss a day, don't give up. Just get back on track the next day.
And one last thing, make your habits enjoyable. If you're trying to improve your English, choose activities that you actually like, such as watching your favorite TV show with subtitles or reading articles about topics you're passionate about. When you enjoy what you're doing, it's much easier to stay consistent.
Exactly. So, to summarize this segment, focus on small, manageable habits. Attach them to your existing routines, use reminders, and make the process enjoyable. Habits are the foundation of long-term success. So far, we've discussed identifying goals, breaking them into actionable steps, and building consistent habits. But how do you know if all of this is working? That's where tracking your progress comes in. It's like checking a map when you're on a road trip. It shows you how far you've come and whether you need to make adjustments.
Exactly, Ryan. Tracking progress doesn't have to be complicated. It can be as simple as keeping a journal, using a calendar, or even an app on your phone. For example, if your goal is to learn 10 new English words every week, you can create a checklist and tick off each word as you learn it. This gives you a clear sense of accomplishment and keeps you motivated to continue.
That's a great example, Priya. Another way to track progress is through regular reflection. Set aside time, maybe at the end of each week or month, to review what you've achieved. Ask yourself questions like, what went well? What could I improve? Am I still on track to reach my goal? This reflection helps you identify what's working and what needs to change.
Absolutely. And don't be afraid to tweak your plan if needed. Life is unpredictable, and sometimes your goals or circumstances might change. For instance, if you originally planned to practice English for an hour every day, but find that it's too much, scale it back to 30 minutes. Adjusting your plan doesn't mean you're failing. It means you're being realistic and staying flexible.
That's an important point, Priya. Flexibility is key. Let's say your goal was to finish a book in English by the end of the month, but you've only read half. Instead of feeling discouraged, break it down further. Commit to reading a chapter a day until you finish. Progress isn't about perfection, it's about consistently moving forward, even if it's slower than you planned.
Exactly, Ryan. And tracking isn't just about identifying areas for improvement, it's also about celebrating your wins. Each small milestone is proof that you're growing. For example, if your goal is to improve your speaking skills, celebrate when you confidently hold your first full conversation in English. Recognizing these moments keeps you motivated and reminds you that your efforts are paying off.
Another way to stay motivated is to visualize the end result. Imagine how achieving your goal will feel. If your aim is to gain fluency in English, picture yourself confidently speaking in a meeting or traveling abroad with ease. Keeping that vision in mind makes the hard work feel worthwhile.
Great advice, Ryan. So, to sum up this segment, track your progress using simple tools like journals or checklists. Reflect regularly to see what's working, and be ready to adjust your plan when needed. And don't forget to celebrate your milestones. It's those little victories that build momentum.
Now that we've covered setting goals, creating actionable steps, building habits, and tracking progress, let's wrap up by talking about something that ties it all together: staying motivated for the long haul. Let's face it, personal growth is a journey that requires consistent effort, and it's easy to feel discouraged along the way. So, how do you stay motivated to keep going?
That's a great question, Ryan. One of the best ways to stay motivated is to focus on your why. Remind yourself of the deeper reasons behind your goals. For example, if your goal is to become fluent in English, think about the opportunities it could open for you. Whether it's advancing in your career, traveling with confidence, or building better connections with people. Keeping that bigger picture in mind can reignite your motivation when things get tough.
That's so true, Priya. I'd add that celebrating small wins along the way is just as important. Big goals take time, and it's easy to lose sight of how far you've come. By celebrating each milestone, whether it's completing a week of consistent practice or having your first conversation in English, you're acknowledging your progress and rewarding your effort. It doesn't have to be a big celebration. Sometimes just giving yourself a pat on the back or treating yourself to something you enjoy is enough.
Absolutely. And speaking of rewards, they should align with your goals. For example, if you're improving your English, a reward could be watching a favorite movie in English or buying a new book to read. This way, your rewards become part of the growth process, rather than distractions from it.
Another way to stay motivated is to surround yourself with support. Share your goals with friends, join a community of like-minded people, or find an accountability partner. When you're surrounded by others who encourage you and share similar goals, it's much easier to stay on track. For instance, joining an English-speaking group can help you practice and keep you inspired by seeing others making progress.
That's a great point, Ryan. And let's not forget the importance of positive self-talk. It's easy to get frustrated when things don't go as planned, but instead of focusing on setbacks, remind yourself of your strengths and what you've achieved so far. For example, if you make a mistake while speaking English, don't think, "I'll never get it right." Instead, think, "I've improved a lot, and mistakes are part of learning." Your mindset plays a huge role in keeping you motivated.
Exactly, Priya. And remember, motivation isn't always about feeling excited or inspired. Sometimes it's just about showing up, even when you don't feel like it. Consistency builds momentum, and momentum leads to progress. So on those days when you're not feeling motivated, focus on taking just one small step. Even a little progress is better than none.
To sum up, staying motivated means focusing on your why, celebrating wins, building a supportive environment, and maintaining a positive mindset. Keep showing up, even when it's tough. Growth is a journey, and small steps add up over time. Thanks for tuning in to Speak Up. If this episode helped you, share it with someone who could use a boost. Have questions or growth plans to share? Reach out to us. Here's to a year of learning and achieving your best.
Thank you for watching. If you enjoyed this, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more inspiring content. Stay tuned for more tips and conversations to help you reach your goals.